Good evening, ladies. How are you? Or anybody who's watching, I'm saying ladies, there could be some guys watching on the recording. So welcome. Okay, so it's Monday night. We are talking about Monday night live action, and tonight's training is going to be about how to take aligned action. So let me just get these up here. There we go. So I hope you all had a great weekend. Say hi when you're coming on. Any questions you can put in the comments. Or you can post below. It's entirely up to you. Okay, I'm just going to get cracking. So let me just actually make this bigger. There we go. Let me check. Okay, so the reason I'm talking about this is because there is a big difference between just taking any action and aligned action. And what aligned action means is, and what we're talking about is like, what is alignment? I think that, the word is bandied about a lot. And I actually want to talk about what alignment is, why it's important, the effects of aligned action, like what's the outcome of aligned action in comparison to just taking any action. And then as normal, we're going to go through step by step of actually how you do that. So we're probably going to be going for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe half an hour, depending. Let's get cracking. So what is alignment? So alignment, obviously, I'm going to be talking about this through the lens of human design. And so alignment is depending on your type. So we can talk about alignment in the general sense, which is basically just what feels good, and that's truth within regards to a general answer, but we can get even more detailed when we look at our type. So if you haven't got your type yet, then you can go and get your there's a link below, or there'll be a link below for you below or above to get your results done. But really what I want to talk about is just to give you a general overview of what alignment looks like for each type. So if you know what your type are, whack it in the comments. I'd love to see that and see who we've got here. I'd love to know if we've got any reflectors. I only know one, so I'd like to get to know some more. So what is alignment by your type? So if you're a manifestor, your alignment is to follow your internal nudges. So as we look at the different types, we're going to be looking at the type depicts how you're designed to use your energy, and how you're designed to use your energy is contributes to how you make decisions, how you decide what is aligned for you. So as a manifestor, you're designed to follow your nudges, trust the things you feel like doing that come out of nowhere. So it's not questioning it. It's not getting in your head. We were looking a bit more at positive intelligence last week. This week, we're looking a little bit more through the PhD part of the PhD process. And so for a manifestor, it's really just knowing that what comes into the path, that you're nudged towards, that might come absolutely left field, come out of nowhere. If it feels good, go for it. So you're in alignment when you say, it's all happening so fast without me trying. That's when you're in flow or alignment, whichever you want to call it. So as a generator, it's following what lights you up. So let joy be your guidepost. So this is me, of what to do and what not to do. So when we look at the difference between generator and manifesting generator, obviously the two generators and manifesting generators are essentially generator energy. The manifesting generator just has that dose of manifestor in them, which has slightly different, it has different nuances for how you make decisions and how you follow your energy. So for the generator, it's much more single visioned. Generators are about mastery. So you're in flow when you say, I could do this all day long and never get tired. So today I was doing quite creative things. I'm a sacral being, so I'm a creative being. My life purpose in my human design is creativity. So when I'm doing something creative, it feeds my energy and I can do it and do it and do it. In fact, I was doing it all day and the time just passed and I didn't feel tired. Whereas if I do something that wasn't lighting me up, then I would generally feel a little bit more exhausted by the end of the day. So you follow what lights you up, let enjoy. So it's literally, does this light me up or this doesn't? It's very easy for you to take aligned action. And so I'm going to talk about these in the context of taking action. So if I've got 3 options and one of them lights me up and 2 doesn't, I'm going to choose the one, I'm going to choose the way, I'm going to choose the perspective, or in alignment with the thing that lights me up, because I'm a generator, and that's how I use my energy. So you're in alignment when you say, I could do this all day and never get tired. So it's just, and so if you can think about, I always like to get you to think about, your personal experience. Can you remember a time when, or do you know something that you can just do and do and do and do, and you don't feel tired? Like you can just do it and do it and do it. Do you also know things that you really hate doing, and you've done it for 5 minutes and it feels like you've done it for 5 hours? So that is what we're talking about here. So the manifesting generator, again, it's to doing what lights you up, but it's also being open to new things. So with a generator, my human design teacher said, the generator is like a steamboat, the manifesting generator is like a jet ski. So you're much more able to have more things going at the same time than a pure generator. You're able to give your energy to different things. You're able to switch quite quickly, move direction quite quickly. Manifesting generators are fast paced. So it's being open and not getting too sucked into something that no longer feels aligned, no longer lights you up. So with generators, we have to be really mindful about what we say yes to, because if we say yes to it, we're going to have to see it through. The manifesting generators don't have to do that. You can change your direction. You can change your mind. You can let that go and go here if that's what feels good to you, but you've got to trust that. You've got to be able to trust. And when we're talking about an aligned action here, what we're really talking about is trusting your inner guidance system and taking action in alignment with the things that are on your path, with the things that are towards your desires. So you'll know if you're a manager, you'll know when you're in flow, when you're in alignment, you'll go, wow, I can hold so much energy. I feel like I'm superhuman. Because when you're following that, imagine, in fact, I was just watching Sonic the Hedgehog today with my son because he's been off sick. And, that I've just had the image of Sonic coming in, and he's like jumping from building to building and like zooming around all over the place. That's like Manigen vibes. Changing direction very, very quickly. That is how, and having the energy for all that, because when you're in momentum and you're following that internal navigation system of, yes, this lights me up and this lights me up and this lights me up, you'll feel it. For a projector, you're really here to follow your invitations. Now, when we say invitations, that doesn't mean it has to be like a party invitation. It's just an invitation. Can be body language. It can be a look. It can be a verbal invitation. It can be a nudge. It can be a nod. It can be anything. You're there to sort of make sense of it all for us, to shine a light on a new way to get there. So if you think about projectors, as they just come in, they're able to see a new way of doing things. So when you're a projector, you've got to follow that invitation. You've got it. Like you see a way that everybody else doesn't see. So own that and like be proud of that. And really, when you're in alignment with that, it really helps you to take action on the things that feel good to you, that you followed that invitation, that you followed that perspective, and you're able to deliver it. So when you're in alignment when you say, I'm seemingly doing nothing and yet it's all happening. Because projectors, unlike generators, don't have that sacral center. So the amazing thing about that is that and people think that projectors have got less energy. It's not that they've got less energy, it's just more efficient. So when they are in alignment and they're making a decision, they're doing something that they've had that invitation, they can see this new way, they want to share what they want to share, or whatever's the context it's in, that gives them their energy. They'll just need that time to recoup, and it's not wasting their energy on things that, shouting up or going in and without the invitation. And they're using, like I said, I use the word invitation very broadly. So when a reflector is in alignment, when a projector is in alignment and when they're in flow, things just happen because they're being really clean with their energy, and they're giving it to the places and to the contact, to the projects and people and circumstances that feel good, and that they're able to show their full, show up in their full self. So it's the action for them is more efficient and considered. That's how I see it. So the reflector, now the thing about reflectors, there's only 1% of the population that are reflectors. So there's probably not too many watching this, but there will be some. So reflectors have no defined centers. And so the great thing about reflectors is they get to try on and then decide what's for them, because they will absorb everybody's energy. They will feel, see, very intuitive, very able to discern what is, well, an empowered reflector is able to discern what's for them and what's not. So when taking action as a reflector, it's very much about trying this on. Does this feel good to me? Does this person, does this circumstance, does this context, does whatever, does this feel good? I get to try it on. If it does, go with it. So it's very much like, you're in alignment when you say the universe is moving me and I'm just following. So as a reflector, it's very much just, this is in your path. This is in your path. Does this feel good? Does this feel good? And you follow it. So it really, when you're looking at the nuances of the different types, essentially, if you look at this as an umbrella statement, alignment is doing what feels good to you. But when we think about the saboteurs, when we think about our conditioning, we can be conditioned to take action in ways that actually aren't aligned for our energy type. They're not aligned for how we're best designed to use our energy. So as a headline, yes, alignment is doing what feels good to you. But if what feels good to you is led by people pleasing and you getting validation, for just as an example, is, oh, if I do this for this person, even though I don't really want to, I can't, I haven't got time. If I do this for this person, it will make me feel good. That's not an aligned piece of action. That is just the conditioned way of, this is how I get validation. This is how I get praise. This is how I get attention. So we've got to really look at, if we take away the PQ, we take away the mind, we take away the saboteurs and the conditioning in the truest sense of, how we're supposed to take action depending on our energy type, then that's what we're looking at. So why is it important? Because at the end of the day, we don't manifest our desires without aligned action. And because here's the thing, like, I believe, as you know, if you follow me for a long time, you'll know that I believe that your desires are divinely given. I think they're in you on purpose. I think the reason that we have survived so long as a species is because everything you can see and touch has somebody desired to make it. There was a desire there. This table, this ring light I've got here, this laptop, and we all know whose desire that was. You probably don't know I've got an Apple. Since I know, how would they know? I'm on an Apple laptop. So when we look at everything that's been created, somebody had to have the desire to get it wrong, keep getting it wrong, and keep getting it wrong until they got it right. That's desire led. So everything in the material plane that we have, everything that we can see and touch, has been created from desire. That's why we're so incredible as humans, because everybody has in them their own desires. And if they follow that and become that, it is a gift to the world, because anybody that is brave enough or courageous enough to follow their desires and to maybe go against the status quo or go against the conditioning or grow through that, that's a gift to the world. Because when we see and hear stories, that's what inspires us. We see these people and against adversity, the story from rags to riches, or from having a traumatic experience to overcoming that experience and going on to help other people. Like, whatever it is, we are inspired by that, and that's following desire. And so I just don't believe that the things that we desire, and I'm not just talking about like handbags and shoes, I'm talking about the thing, the mark that we want to leave, the thing that we want to do, what's our voice, what's the message inside us to be shared. Like, what is that? So for me, that's self-mastery. That is mastering our mind and our emotions and our energy, so we can show up in the most authentic way, that we can be ourselves. And people ban that around so much. I mean, I've got a teenager, and you hear people say all the time, just be yourself. Like, what does that mean? Like, actually, what does that mean to be myself? And that's not an easy question to answer when we're conditioned. We're so conditioned throughout our entire life to be a certain way, act a certain way, look a certain way, or whatever that is. And so for me, I believe deeply that the things that are on your heart and the things that you desire. I have this question too. I'm sorry, I was in flow then, Netimer, so I didn't understand what question you said. So just say what you mean underneath. So it's the the way that we interpret that, who am I, what am I here to do? And when we hear that answer, we hear that, that voice within us that says, this is what you're here to do, this is what you're here to share. I see it as our absolute, it's our absolute, what's the word I'm looking for? So we're obligated in the most beautiful way. And I don't like the word obligation, that's not the word I'm looking for. But what we have is this it's our destiny to do that. So when we follow our, how do you be yourself, how do you actually do it? Yeah, I get it. So when we're looking at aligned action, what we're saying is, if I am going to shorten that learning curve, or shorten that time between the thing that I desire and that thing manifesting, aligned action is the path to that. Because if you think about it, if your desire is here, or the thing that you want to do, this message you want to share, the thing that you want to bring to the world, whatever it is, the place that you want to live, it can be material, it doesn't matter if it is, like the place that you want to live, the countries you want to travel to. If that desire is in front of you, and that desire is from your heart and it's from your soul, and you know how to take aligned action in direction of that, then it shortcuts. It's, when we talk about quantum leaps, that's, to me, that's what that is. It's like mastering the skill of being able to recognize your conditioning, be able to, be in touch with your energy and make aligned decisions is going to take you in the more direct route. So I think about that, the metaphor I like to use that is like a road. If you put your destination in the sat nav and there's a direct route to that destination, that's what aligned action is. But the conditioning is the side paths, is the dead ends, it's the things that takes us off. Our saboteurs take us off path because they say, no, that's not for you, because of fear or judgment or conditioning. So what we end up doing is we take a detour because this feels better, this feels more comfortable, this feels more realistic. And so we go down this route and then we get a dead end because that's not our aligned path. And then we end up having to come back here. And that constant having to come back to the road is what the work is. Like my mission and the things that's really important to me, and the reason why I use these tools is because, to me, these are the best tools I've ever come across that help us do that very thing. Help us master our mind, help us master our emotions and our energy and how we move through life. So, aligned action is so important because aligned action takes you to the destination far quicker than misaligned action, or action that is led by or driven by conditioning, saboteur behavior, that kind of thing. Misaligned action leads to burnout. It leads to our not self experience. So to go back to the road analogy, misaligned action is saboteur driven action, conditioned driven action. Means that we'll maybe keep trying. So I'll go back to an example for the type. So let's say that I, as a generator, have a decision, follow a path, and I have two options in front of me, and this one's easier, and this one is the aligned one, but it's going to be tougher because there's challenge in it, because maybe it's something new, maybe it's something I've not done before, maybe it feels completely left field, but it lights me up. But I choose this way because I feel more comfortable in the moment in this side because it's less scary. There'll be less judgment attached, all the things that make something less scary in the moment. But I do it, and I just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And then I lose my energy because it's not lighting me up. And then I just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. That leads to burnout. That's what burnout is burnout, happens when we keep doing something and following a path that doesn't feed our energy. Because if it was aligned, burnout wouldn't necessarily exist. I'm not saying that as a flat rule, but I'm saying it will be much harder to get to burnout in an aligned state than it is, and it's a very fast route to burnout in a misaligned state. Excuse me. So also it leads to your not self-experience. So for example, if I make misaligned choices and I take misaligned action, I take action that is driven by saboteur language and saboteur behavior or my conditioning, then basically what I'm giving myself my not self-experience. And as a generator, I've just realized there's a spelling mistake. It says not sleth. Apologize for that. That should say self. My not self experience is frustration. So if I keep banging my head against a wall, trying to keep pushing down this road because somebody said that it was better, or that way gives me more validation by somebody else, or all the reasons that we take action in a direction because we're doing it from an outside influence, looking for that outside validation, then you damn right I'm going to get frustrated, which is my not self theme. That's where the frustration is born. So, and then if I don't take that frustration as the indicator, the alarm bell that I'm not in alignment, and I ignore it and I keep going, hello, horrible situation, right? Because there's nothing wrong with frustration. There's nothing wrong with your not self theme. There's nothing wrong with your saboteurs. But the mastery here is, this doesn't feel like it's right for me anymore. This doesn't feel aligned. Like, why am I doing this? Like, really questioning that, and then saying, what would be better for me? Like, what feels better for me? And being able to let something go and move in a new direction. Much more so if you're a manifesting generator, right? Because it's how you grow. Okay, so this, and let me just say this, there is a note on another slide coming up, but I want to get it in now, and I will reiterate it when we get to that slide. None of this is bad. Misaligned action isn't bad because we're going to take it. We're going to, because that's how we grow. If we just took aligned action all the time and everything was perfectly aligned, there'd be no growth. There'd be no lessons. There'd be no resistance to overcome. There'd be no edge to meet. We have to. But my mission is to not prolong that experience. It's like, okay, it is inevitable that we are going to bump up against the edges. It's inevitable that we're going to make decisions that we realize aren't as aligned as they could be. The expansion is in those moments. The confidence is in those moments because you learn. And the piece that brings this together for me is, let's say you take that misaligned action and you recognize that it's misaligned, and your saboteurs kick in and you go, oh, this doesn't feel aligned, and you go to change direction and you don't allow the saboteurs to stop you doing that. Yeah, but you said you'd do it. Yeah, but you said you'd stick to it. Whatever it is, let's say you've made a commitment to do something every day for the next 90 days and you get 10 days in and the way you're doing it no longer feels good. It's being able to own yourself enough to go, right, this doesn't feel good. Turn down the saboteurs when they're saying, yeah, but you said you'd stick to it. Yeah, but you said you'd do this and you're not. And all the crap that comes up from them is be able to go, no, it's not that. It doesn't feel good to me anymore to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way. The outcome's still the same. I'm just going to change direction slightly. So that's the mastery for me, right? Second next reason, because it's how you grow. Just like that. Because it's how you sustain your energy. We've got to, we have enough on our plate as humans. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of things that could make us feel not so great. And so understanding how do I move through my day and feed myself energetically as much as possible. And so for me, that means, how do I find joy? How do I enjoy what I'm doing more? How do I find ways that make me feel better? How do I interrupt my day if I'm feeling frustrated and inject some joy into it? Intentionally, deliberately. That's how I live my day, because it feels, I inject it with things that make me feel, because it gives me energy. So when we're looking at all the different types, and when you look into, and if you haven't got, I'm going to be sharing with you, I've got part 1 of my human design, my PhD workbook, which is going to give you some questions that are going to help you deep dive into your type and your authority. So you'll be really able to, really be able to nail in like what alignment feels like for you as a manifestor, generator, projector, reflector. Like how it actually, what does that look like? How does that feel? How do I do that? Right. So I'm going to be sharing that with you, and there'll be a link in the comments somewhere with that. Okay. Is this making sense? Amazing. So the impact of alignment. So, I'm always working through these 3 states. I'm always looking through mind, emotions, and energy. So the impact of alignment is, when we take aligned action, it's so much easier to access our sage perspective. And the sage perspective is that there is a gift, an opportunity. I know I don't say all situations, because I am very conscious that there are very small situations where that isn't possible. But 99% of situations, there is a gift and opportunity. Our saboteurs can be less active once we are aware and intentional. And what I mean by that is, getting to know how your brain speaks to you, getting to know how your saboteurs communicate with you. Sometimes they can act like your best friend. Being able to recognize when that's happening. So the impact of alignment, it's just when we're aligned and we're doing things that feel good in the way that we're designed to do them, we have our brain is less active of saboteurs. We're getting hijacked a lot less. So it allows for much clearer thinking. It allows for, that taking that beautifully clean aligned action, right? Um, Once we're aware and intentional, we've got to be aware and intentionally move, right? So emotions, when we take aligned action, we are much more likely to feel the positive emotions associated with walking our aligned path. Positive emotions are energizing and thus keep us on that upward trajectory. So if you're thinking about when you're taking aligned action, so I'll use me as an example. If I'm doing something that lights me up, that light being lit up feels good to me. And so it makes much more sense if you've ever seen. In fact, I'll post a picture of it in the group. The emotional scale. It was from Abraham Hicks. Ask and it's given. The first time I ever saw that was there, and this emotional scale of love being at the top, and then sort of grief and shame being very low at the bottom. And we talked about, as you move through the emotions, that anger is better than hate because at least you're moving up the emotional scale. When you think about that as a concept, when we're taking aligned action, we feel better. And so we're much more likely to get ourselves on that upward trajectory of positive feelings and positive emotions. Now, that doesn't mean, like I said before, just to always put that caveat in, it doesn't mean that negative feelings are bad. There is no good and bad. It's just communication. It's just information. And we should be grateful for both. For me, it really is, my part of my human design and the things that I'm really great at is that I have a defined emotional center, sacral and spleen, defined head and ajna, which is very feminine, masculine polarity. So for me, communicating that is really, really important. It's the things that I'm, one of the things I'm strongest at is understanding that there's always going to be two ends of the stick. That if you're going to be here for the positive emotions, you've also got to be here for the opposite end of the stick. And the way I have talked about this in the past is, if you think about it, I always say to people, like back when I was coaching people and specific traumas and people that have been through really difficult things, I always used to say to them, do you know what? One of the blessings in this is because we're always looking for ways to, new perspectives. And that's one of the things that I love to do, is to give people new perspectives. Is when you think about it, if you've experienced real low, like you've been to that place, here, if you see the middle line here, and people that have never really had any depth, but they that lower feeling sort of like amble along the middle line, and then when they feel happy, it's sort of like there's not much difference between okay and happy, or fulfilled, or whatever. And when you've been to that low place, here feels incredible. I've got one past client that always pops into my head when I'm telling this story, and she had a horrific experience in her childhood. I do have permission to share her story. Horrific abuse in her childhood that put her in a very dark place for a very long time, well into her late 30s, early 40s, even though this thing happened to her when she was a young child. And just every day was hard. Getting through every day was difficult. And as we worked through that and she released that, and she came to terms with it and she accepted it, and it became that here her normal day-to-day life felt incredible compared to where she was. So I always say that the gift of allowing ourselves to go to a dark, to a deep place, allowing ourselves to feel the quote unquote negative emotions, mean that we also get the payoff on the other side. Is that if you can hold it and process and feel through that lower end of the emotional scale, you get the joy and the clarity and the essence and the beauty of its opposite. And so navigating that is what being human is, as far as I'm concerned. So energy, very simply, you are using your energy as you were designed to use it. Therefore, you will have more of it. It will become more efficient. You attract more, manifest more, find more serendipitous moment occurring in your life and business because you are in alignment. Now, I want to make a note here. This is not always an instant result. Alignment isn't always the easy choice. And what I mean by that is if you have a situation where you've got two paths, two possible choices in front of you, and this one on the right, let's say the path one, makes sense on paper. It's logical. Everyone agrees that's the most efficient way to do it, or the best, path according to the rules of life. Everybody's backing that choice. All your friends, all your family are saying it doesn't make sense. But your insides, your alignment, your joy is pulling you down this direction. And maybe path B, you don't have any experience. You don't have any past experiences that would help you. It would be starting something from scratch. Maybe there is more money involved in it. Maybe there's, a higher risk involved in it. But your soul's calling you down path B. Alignment and holding to your alignment is going, I'm going B, even though everybody around you is going, why? They're making you question it. They're making you doubt it. Now, a lot of people will automatically go because they'll agree, because it does make more sense on paper. It does. And I use in fact, Nessima, I'll use you as an example. I remember we were talking about flights ages ago. And, there's two flight options. And one's at really good time, but one's more, and it's a good time, but it's more expensive, or the one that's later and a bit more of an inconvenient time and it's cheaper or whatever. And you just pulled to the later one. You don't know why, you just are. And everyone's going, well, why would you do that? If you get, and they give you all the reasons why this one's a better choice. But you decide to go with that one. You get on the plane, you sit next to the man, woman of your dreams, and you end up going on a date and you end up getting married. That's what we're talking about, is that alignment. When you act in alignment, which it is not always the easy choice. It's not easy to go against the grain and say, I don't know why, but this just feels like the right option for me. In fact, I'll use my son as an example. So my son is just about to do his GCSEs. He didn't do GCSE music. He doesn't play an instrument, but he's going to do music production at college because he's passionate about music and it lights him up. And I've encouraged him to do that because I said, you will learn. And it was scary for him because he was in the room with people that already knew what they were doing. People that had already been using the software that they're going to be using at the college. He had to learn it from scratch, develop two things from scratch. That's something he'd never done before. And I was so proud of him because he was following his light up. He's a manifesting generator. He was following the thing that lit him up. And I was like, don't worry that you don't know anything about it. If you enjoy it, and if you think about it, it just makes sense to me. It makes sense. If you enjoy something, if something lights you up, you will learn it. Like human design for me. In my head was like, this, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand what all the things mean. Like, I looked at my chart and I was like, what the hell is this? I don't get it. But my insight was like, this excites me. So over time, I've just kept coming back to it. Now certified in business, how to do human design business. So how to do human design alchemy, all these things, because I was scared, but you learn because it lights you up, because that pull pulls you towards it, right? So when I mean it's not always an instant result is because you're not just going to make one aligned choice and everything's going to manifest. It's like anything. It is the compound effect of aligned choice, aligned choice, aligned choice, aligned choice, and letting the universe see that she's following her alignment. Let me send her what she wants. Let me send her her desires. And I always use the analogy of a plane. Apparently, I don't know if this is the actual, I read the statistic years ago, and don't quote me on the actual statistic, the percentage, but the thing I read was that a plane is off course sort of 93% of the time, and that the software is constantly refining, constantly moving in the direction, constantly I can't think of the word. You know what I mean? Is constantly moving back into alignment with the destination. That's life. And so we get to the destination, but we've got to be course correct. We've got to constantly course correct, and that's being in tune. You have to be in tune with your mind and your body and your energy in order to do that well. That's what this is about. That's what I'm about. This is what the whole PhD process is about. You can do anything when you are in alignment with those three things, and when you have hyper awareness and mastery around that. Okay, so the step by step, let's just go there. So 1, know your type, download the workbook, get your reading. The links will be in the comments. Number 2, identify what areas you want to take action on. Look at the top 3 to 5 things, break each one down, and depending on your human design type, ask yourself, what is the best way for me to approach this? So if you're a generator, does this light me up? Does this way of doing this light me up? No. Okay, let me look at my other options. And again, get to understand your type in a more more detailed way, and then you'll understand exactly what that looks like for you, because this isn't cookie cutter. This isn't generalized information. This is frameworks and step-by-step processes, but you do it through your own alignment. Step 3, what's the next right move? So the thing for me, what is the small thing you can do to start the momentum? Because especially if it's an aligned choice, that might feel scary, or it might feel it's new, or it might be something that the only reason you're doing it is because it lights you up and you've got no evidence on the outside that says you'll be successful. Like, what's one small thing? So it might be, I don't know, you want to be a dancer, you want to learn to salsa. It might just be looking on the internet and seeing where the local class is. That's the first step. So it's taking it down, breaking it down. Like, what is the first thing that I can do that's going to move me in the direction? Because when it lights you up and it's aligned, or when it's aligned for whatever type you are, when you make that move, it will give you energy, which gives you a higher percentage of chance of making the next move. But if you look at it as this massive thing, let your saboteurs get in the way, you probably don't take action in the moment. And I put a post on my socials earlier today, and it was, don't let the hit of dopamine that you get when you're thinking about taking the action fool you into thinking you've actually taken the action. So I was watching a podcast with the guy who wrote The Chimp Paradox on Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO the other day. And he was saying that we actually get a hit of dopamine just thinking about the thing. So that might be the sweet, it might be the chocolate, it might be, whatever it is that we're desiring, might be the new business idea, whatever. Thinking about taking the action, thinking about doing the thing will give us a hit of dopamine. What I've recognized in my own life and in many of my clients is that hit gives us that momentary relief from the anxiety of not doing it. And so we can go in that moment, we'll think about doing it. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do it because this feels good. And then the saboteur will be acting like your best friend. Will go, oh, just do that, and then we'll do that later. And you bypass taking the action in the moment. And that happens time and time and time and time and time again. And it wasn't until I understood that I was like, so I'll use chocolate as an example, or cookies. So there was a biscuit, and I was like, I'm thinking about the biscuit. I get the hit of dopamine, feels really good. That is what's encouraging me to go get the biscuit. But now I've realized, I've gone, oh, that's just that hit of dopamine. Look, I'm not going to do it because I'll feel, I won't, I'll enjoy it, but I really don't need it, and I'll have that whole conversation. So understanding, biscuits and chocolate is an easy example for most people to get. When we're thinking about actually taking the action towards the thing that we desire, that's laden sometimes with fear, laden with conditioning. So we've really got to get to the point where we're like, I understand what's happening. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to take that really small step towards doing what I want to do. And then I'm going to really move into the next piece, which is visualize. Now, here's the thing. See yourself taking the action. Your brain does not know the difference. So not only are you going to decide what that first step is, you're going to see it. You're going to see yourself taking the action. Notice anything that comes up in your energy as you do that, and adjust if needs be. So, imagine taking the action that you need to take. So think about something now. One thing that you need to do, it might be send an email, it might be write a post, it might be if it's related to your business, whatever it is you need to do, see yourself doing it, and you will get the feeling of satisfaction, of excitement. You will get that dopamine hit, but playing it out in your mind, it massively increases your chances of actually doing it, because you're going to be able to recognize the feelings. Now, the hyper awareness comes in because you imagine doing it. Your saboteurs will kick in because they don't know the difference between real and fake. So it's really interesting to note down what comes up, feel into your body. Where, if I feel nerves, where do I feel them? If I'm, thinking things that are gonna, that's saboteur related, what are they saying? Which saboteur is it? Or just be able to recognize that you're having a saboteur moment is enough. You don't really have to know which one it is. Be able to recognize that and then work through it. See yourself doing it anyway. See yourself going, yeah, thank you for being here. I'm going to make the move anyway. See yourself doing it. You're much more likely to do it. And then 5, do the small thing. Just do it. Then celebrate the shit out of yourself for doing it. Lean into that achievement and then plan your next move. Okay, I did that. Well done me. I'm going to go and do it again. I'm going to move. Rinse and repeat. And before you know it, you'll be on in a absolute aligned action goddess or god, whatever. And this also develops your confidence competence loop. So here's a little example of what that is. You'll probably have heard of this before. This is not a new thing. This isn't my thing. This is just me reiterating it. But taking the aligned action, I've tweaked it slightly to be a PhD self-mastery moment. So take the aligned action in alignment with your type. You either succeed or you learn. And when we're looking at PQ, when we're looking at our sage perspective, that is a pure succeed or learn is the purest sage sentence I could say, because we are either going to succeed or we are going to learn. Learn and build a skill. So if you're learning a way not to do it. You're learning what's not aligned for you. You're learning that didn't work. And then you go to find a way that does work and it builds the skill. That then gains competency and alignment. And then you gain confidence, and then the whole thing goes again. So when we're thinking about taking an aligned action, we've really got to think about this confidence loop. Is that, I'm not telling you anything in this moment that you've not heard before. Everybody understands that the more you do something, the more confident you become at it. But what I really want to go deeper and say to you is that when you do things in an aligned way that's right for you personally, that confidence is supercharged. It's leveled up, for want of a better phrase, because it's not just doing something that everybody, doing something in a way that everybody else does it and just pushing yourself to do it that way. Yes, you'll get good at it, but it'll never really be in the way that is perfect for you. But when you're in alignment first, when you're taking action on the thing that feels in alignment first, then you're doing it in an aligned way, which supercharges your confidence. Okay, amazing. I hope that's helped. So you can follow me on all the socials. If you're not following me on Positive Human Design on Instagram, please go follow me there. YouTube, Charlotte Pridmore. Pinterest, Charlotte Pridmore Coach, Charlotte P Coach, and LinkedIn, Charlotte Pridmore. Thank you for being here. I will be putting some quotes from stuff and some questions in this week, all aligned with this subject. Thank you for being here, and I will speak to you soon.